Okay, picture this. A huge, incredibly stable economic partnership. We're talking over $700 billion a year.
Yeah, foundational stuff.
And then, suddenly, it's thrown into, well, severe jeopardy.
Just like that.
Right. And a trigger. A single TV commercial. A 30-second ad.
It sounds completely wild, but that's exactly what happened, wasn't it? October 24th, 2025, President Trump just pulls the plug on all trade talks with Canada.
Immediately. No warning. Just done.
So here on the deep dive, that's what we're getting into today, this really extraordinary diplomatic crisis.
Yeah, it's not just some minor tip. This was a complete shutdown of talks between the world's, biggest integrated trading partners.
And an advertisement from Ontario, Canada, that the president called, quote, deceptive and fake-y.
It really is a high-stakes situation. You've got the stability of the entire USMCA, these complex North American supply chains, all hanging in the balance because of this, well, very calculated $53.5 million ad campaign that used old footage. It's the sheer mismatch in scale that's striking. Okay, let's unpack this.
Right. So to really get the gravity of it, you have to start with the size of the relationship itself. What was actually put on ice here?
We said $700 billion.
Over $700 billion in two-way trade every year. This isn't just numbers. It's like the lifeblood for massive parts of the U.S. economy.
That makes Canada our second biggest trading partner overall, right, after China.
Correct. But crucially, they are the largest market for U.S. exports, by far.
And the jobs impact? Our sources were saying something like 9 million American jobs.
Estimated, yeah. 9 million jobs spread across manufacturing, farming, energy, concentrated a lot in those border states, too.
Okay, so keep that $700 billion, that 9 million jobs number in mind. Now, the spark. Ontario, Canada's biggest province, economically speaking.
Oh, like almost 40% of Canada's GDP comes out of Ontario.
Yeah.
And they decided to, launch a pretty targeted ad campaign in the U.S.
They spent about 75 million Canadian dollars, which is
around 53.5 million U.S. dollars on these 30-second spots aimed right at American viewers.
Wait a second. $53.5 million to potentially blow up a $700 billion trade relationship. That, the math feels off just on economics alone.
It does.
So what was in this ad? Because that amount of money, it suggests this wasn't just a whim, it was strategic.
Oh, absolutely deliberate. And the ad wasn't subtle about its message. It was aimed squarely at the administration's protectionist leanings.
Okay.
But here's the twist, the really ironic part. They used footage and audio of President Ronald Reagan.
Reagan, a Republican icon used against a Republican administration's policy.
Exactly. That's the political genius, or maybe the gamble of it. They used his own words from a 1987 speech about free trade.
Wow. What were the key lines? What did they pull out?
They picked some really pointed stuff. Reagan's voice saying, we should be careful of the demagogues who are ready to declare a trade war against our friends.
Oof, that is hard.
And then the other big one, protectionism becomes destructionism. It costs jobs. Direct hit on the jobs argument.
And they didn't just run this on some local channel, did they? Where did it air?
No, this was a serious media buy, scheduled for major U.S. cable news networks, Newsmax, Bloomberg, places where, politically engaged conservatives and business folks would definitely see it.
So maximum visibility to the target audience.
Precisely. And Ontario officials were quick to confirm, look, this is genuine historical content, not a deep fake, not manipulated, real Reagan.
It was advocacy, pure and simple, designed to shift the narrative.
And it definitely got attention. Maybe not quite the reaction they were hoping for, though.
That feels like the understatement of the year.
Yeah.
The president's reaction wasn't just negative, it was extreme, ending all trade talks instantly, citing the ad as egregious behavior. And not just deceptive, but he claimed it was an attempt to interfere with U.S. court proceedings.
And that is the accusation we really need to dissect, because that elevates this way beyond a trade spat.
Right.
Suddenly, it's about foreign meddling in the U.S. judicial system. That was his core complaint, that Canada was trying to, quote, meddle in court decisions about his tariffs.
Okay, help us understand that link. He's talking about his reciprocal tariff policy. What exactly was the court looking at?
So there was a Supreme Court case coming up, right? And it was set to review the president's power to impose tariffs unilaterally, like on his own authority.
Without Congress needing to okay it.
Exactly. This whole reciprocal tariff idea. Basically, his claim that he could just tax goods from countries he felt were treating the U.S. unfairly. If the Supreme Court ruled against him, if they limited that executive power,
It would really weaken his hand on trade, wouldn't it? It takes away a big tool.
A huge tool. So the stakes for him in that court case were incredibly high.
Okay, so stakes are high. But how does an Ontario ad, even one with Reagan, count as meddling in a Supreme Court review? That seems like a leap.
What's fascinating here is, well, you said it. It's an unprecedented leap, going from a public advocacy ad to accusing a foreign government of judicial interference.
How did he justify that?
He essentially argued the ad wasn't just criticism, it was an attempt to influence public opinion, which might then, indirectly influence the judges or the political climate around the ruling.
Mm.
So he framed it as this foreign entity trying to undermine his executive power during a very sensitive legal battle.
That's creative. Let's call it creative.
Yeah. Legal experts quoted in our sources basically said, look, public advocacy is usually protected speech. It wouldn't normally be seen as, improper foreign influence on the courts.
Especially from a provincial government, not even the federal Canadian government.
Right. He's arguing Ontario is trying to manipulate the U.S. political environment to hurt his legal standing.
Okay, and then there was the claim about the Reagan Foundation. The president's statement said the foundation called the ad fraudulent and fake. That sounds like strong backing for his reaction.
It does sound strong.
Yeah.
But here's where it gets murky. At the time those reports came out, that claim was, ambiguous at best. Meaning, the Reagan Foundation hadn't actually made any official public statement calling the ad fraudulent. They just put out a short note saying they were, quote, looking into the use of Reagan's image. That's it.
So the factual basis for calling it fake, the foundation's condemnation, it wasn't actually there when he said it.
It seems it wasn't verified at that moment, no. The foundation hadn't weighed in definitively.
Wow. So the justification for halting $700 billion in trade talks hinged on a claim that wasn't confirmed.
It suggests, an extreme sensitivity to any criticism of his tariff powers. Using this meddling claim maybe gave him cover for a pretty drastic diplomatic move.
It seems like the ad really touched a nerve related to that whole legal fight over executive power.
Precisely. It wasn't just annoying, it hit a critical spot.
Okay, let's talk fallout. The economic cost. The moment this halt was announced, U.S. businesses sounded the alarm, right?
Instantly. Yeah, the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, the Business Roundtable, they didn't pull any punches. They warned this creates immediate uncertainty.
Disrupting trade with your biggest export customer. Not good.
Not good at all. They talked about price hikes, potential job losses, especially hitting those border states hard. They rely on that smooth flow of goods.
And the reason it's so damaging, you said earlier, is this deep integration. It's not just volume, it's how intertwined things are.
Exactly. These aren't simple supply chains. They're incredibly complex, often just in time. Manufacturers need parts crossing the border constantly, not just daily, sometimes hourly.
Give us that car example again, because it really illustrates the point.
Sure. It's the most cited one for a reason. The average car or light truck built anywhere in North America. Its parts cross the U.S.-Canada border 7 times during assembly.
7 times?
7 times. So when communication breaks down, when policy gets uncertain like this, companies panic. They can't rely on those flows.
So they start hoarding parts or looking for other suppliers.
Hoarding inventory, maybe delaying expansion plans, looking for alternatives even if they cost more. And all of that eventually means higher prices for you, the consumer.
It causes immediate gridlock even before any new tariffs actually happen.
Right. The uncertainty itself is damaging.
So what does this all mean for the USMCA, the replacement for NAFTA? It's still technically active, isn't it?
Legally, yes, the agreement is still in effect. But stopping all talks, that has real practical consequences for its future.
How so?
Well, it completely halts all the prep work for the big USMCA review. That's scheduled to start in 2026. And it's critical for the agreement's long-term health.
You need ongoing talks for that review to work.
Absolutely. You need close communication, coordination, harmonizing rules. Cutting off Canada just throws that whole review process into serious doubt.
And poor Mexico in all this. They're stuck in the middle, aren't they?
Yeah, talk about an awkward spot. They end up in this uncomfortable position, as one source put it, maybe having to be the go-between for their 2 giant neighbors.
Trying to hold a 3-way deal together when 2 partners aren't talking?
It suddenly makes Mexico a key diplomatic player, doesn't it? They have to mediate to protect their own industries, which are just as integrated.
And if this drags on, or gets worse, which sectors are most vulnerable?
Well, autos, obviously,
Yeah.
because of that 7 crossings thing.
Right.
Then you've got dairy, always a flashpoint, steel and aluminum, another recurring theme, softwood lumber, And, of course, the huge energy sector, oil, natural gas, electricity moving back and forth.
So if talks stay frozen for months, those are the industries that feel the pain first.
Definitely. They'll be squeezed.
Now, it's worth remembering, this isn't the first time U.S.-Canada trade talks have hit a snag, is it?
No, absolutely not. There's a history here. Our sources point back to June 2023. There was a dispute involving tech companies and dairy farmers.
I remember that.
And earlier fights over steel and aluminum tariffs, too. Those eventually got resolved, usually through compromise, quite diplomacy.
So history suggests there's a way out.
Yeah.
What are the scenarios experts are looking at now?
They've kind of mapped out three main possibilities. Best case, a quick resolution. Talks resume in, say, 2 to 4 weeks. That would mean minimal long-term damage.
Okay, that's the optimistic view. What's seen as most likely?
Unfortunately, the higher probability, according to the analysis, is a longer pause.
Yeah.
Maybe 3 to 6 months of silence.
And that would cause?
Moderate disruption. Supply chains would start to feel it. Businesses would adapt, but costs would go up, efficiency would drop. It wouldn't be catastrophic, but it would hurt.
And the worst case?
Intensification. The dispute actually gets worse. New tariffs get slapped on within maybe 1 to 3 months.
That sounds bad.
That would be really bad. Immediate retaliation from Canada, almost certainly. Significant economic damage on both sides. It could really start to unravel all the integration work done under USMCA.
So how do we avoid that? What are the off-ramps?
Well, the simplest politically, maybe, is for Ontario to just pull or change the ad. But that's a big political climb down for them. Or Mexico could formally step up and offer to mediate, try to get communication going again.
But there's a complication with the ad itself, isn't there? About who controls it.
Yes, and this is a crucial point. Canadian federal officials made it clear, under Canada's system, they can't legally force a province like Ontario to pull its advertising.
It's provincial jurisdiction.
Exactly, citing their constitution. So even if the Canadian Prime Minister wanted the ad gone, he might not be able to make it happen easily. That lack of central control makes a quick fix harder.
So the whole crisis could be stuck because of something neither federal government can directly control.
It's a real possibility. And we also need to think beyond just trade and economics here.
Right, the ripple effects.
Yeah. I mean, security partnerships, things like NORAD, NATO cooperation, they're technically separate from trade.
Yeah.
But this kind of sustained diplomatic tension, it erodes trust.
That trust is vital for intelligence sharing, too, like the Five Eyes Alliance.
Absolutely. And environmental cooperation, managing the Great Lakes, all that relies on good bilateral relations. The ripples could spread pretty wide if this isn't resolved.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, it feels like the politics, the optics of trade disputes are becoming just as important as the actual tariffs, maybe even more so.
That's a really sharp observation, especially when you weave in historical figures, accusations about court interference. The narrative becomes incredibly potent.
It's just an amazing situation when you boil it down. A
Yeah.
$700 billion relationship paused over a $53.5 million ad using 38-year-old footage because it's seen as judicial meddling.
The disconnect is stark. But that economic reality, it's a powerful anchor, actually dismantling those integrated supply chains. It's just so incredibly complex and painful for both countries.
So that inertia, that economic gravity, will likely pull them back eventually.
Probably. It acts as a strong deterrent against letting things escalate too far for too long. Sheer economic self-interest usually prevails.
So what does this all mean looking forward? The really deep implication seems to be this precedent, linking public advocacy, especially foreign public advocacy, directly to defending executive power in court. That feels new.
It does feel like a shift in how these fights might be fought.
Which leaves a big question for you, the listener, to think about. Does this whole episode suggest that future trade battles won't just be about tariffs and quotas anymore?
Right. Will they increasingly be fought out in the arena of public opinion, media narratives, maybe even influencing the judicial process instead of just pure economic policy?
Something to watch. And definitely keep an eye on that USMCA review process, because how that critical 2026 meeting happens, or if it happens smoothly, that's completely up in the air right now.